This log that I'm loading on to the sawmill right now at this time is 14 feet long. It is pretty heavy, still very wet, and was somewhat taxing to Little John, and I was especially careful, yes, when I picked it up a little bit earlier. That is a area that you have to be very careful about rollover, so I was cautious when I was picking it up earlier. This is one of the southern yellow pine logs that I cut back last fall, and you probably remember that video where I used the log skidding cones to get all of these logs up the hill, and I didn't realize that they had already started to break down as much as they had. I need 9 rafters to finish out the rafters for the sawmill shed, and that is what this log is for, is to cut some of those rafters out of. They're a full 2x6 that we're needing, and I'm cutting off the end here. This log was actually about 14 feet long, and I didn't need that much, so I thought instead of sawing the entire amount, I'd go ahead and cut off about the last 1.5 feet and see if it helped me to be able to get as much of the log cut up into 2x6 rafters as possible. What I was doing here by marking this log was determining where the maximum 6-inch section would be toward the top, so that I could cut it as close to that point as possible in order to be able to end up with as big a cant as I could on the log. This blade that's on the sawmill at this time was still fairly sharp, but I had cut quite a bit with it already, and it is one of the blades that I had sharpened. So I decided, for the purpose of cutting these rafters, that I would go ahead and change the blades out, or the blade out, and I did go ahead and put a new wood miser blade on the sawmill, just to give us a little bit of an advantage of being able to make a smooth cut and get some pretty good looking rafters. I wear some mechanic's gloves most of the time when I'm working outside, but if you'll notice, I've put on some of my heavier work gloves in changing this blade out. These blades are really sharp tipped, and even with those thinner gloves on, they'll reach through those gloves and bite you, so I put on these heavier gloves whenever I'm changing the blades out. Everything looks pretty good on the blade. Rolled on the rollers good, and I think we're ready to get started and cut some rafters. I had a little more than normal waste on this log, but I was really concerned about being able to get down to the cant big enough to get as many rafters out of the log as possible. I've had some people to ask me, what are those numbers on your sawmill? And those numbers came off of those utility poles that I cut up, and I guess I just took them off and tacked them on the sawmill base here just as a tribute to those utility posts. And in case you were wondering, the Sasquatch decal above the word wood in Wood Miser, no, it didn't come on the mill. I put that on there later. I have intentionally not used as much background music on this video. I've heard that people say sometimes they had rather hear the sounds of the equipment running than to listen to the music in the background, so I tried to limit it on this video. Well, as you can see, I got 5 2x6 by 12.5 out of that last log, and I need about 9 more rafters, so I'm considering cutting some hardwood and maybe getting possibly the last 4 out of some hardwood. We'll see. Okay, well, I was able to get 3 out of the hardwood and 5 out of that pine that I cut first. So that gives me 8, and then with the pattern that ends up with 9 2x6 by 12 rafters to possibly be able to finish this. From this point here on down, the rafters are going to be on 24-inch centers. Over that area there, the rafters were on 16-inch centers, and I'll tell you what my thought is. With the heavy post, the larger beams and everything, if you notice, I've still got some trees standing. This is the west side of the sawmill area. And my thought is, if we had a storm and it laid those trees down, then possibly with the heavier structure here, and then I'm going to use these hardwoods, the first 3 rafters here, and then finish out with the pine down here, that possibly, just possibly, and you don't know what storms are going to do and everything, so just possibly though, if it laid over on the sawmill shed, would be able to protect the sawmill just a little bit. Thank you for joining us for this video today, folks. I really do appreciate you joining St. Nick's Farms on these videos. And if you are a first-time viewer, please be sure to subscribe to our channel. Give us a thumbs up. That means you like the video. And if you would, leave a comment down below. That helps us also, but we're working to increase our subscribers, so just you don't know how much I would appreciate it if you would go ahead and subscribe to the channel. So again, that's it for this video. Thank you for joining us, folks. Until next time, this is Larry. Have a great one. Bye bye, everybody. See ya.